All right, guys, make sure that you are gluing this in your notebook. Make sure you're numbering your pages. I don't care what order you have your stuff in, but I need you to have it in your table of contents so that you can find it when we go to use it. Sorry, I'm teaching. I can't answer the phone right now. Okay, make sure that you put your name at the top so if it falls out, you can get it back. This is the equation we're going to start with. And this is what a quadratic, this is the format for a quadratic equation. And I'm going to zoom in a lot because I think that'll help you guys. Okay, you with me? We're going to go through how to fill out the table, how to graph it, and how to fill out an inverse table. Can you see that that has the -1 on it? This is our inverse. We're going to break this down piece by piece and make this easy. Our first step is to find the vertex. Do you guys remember what a vertex is?
The point.
What about the point? Vertex, it is a point. If I were to show you a picture on a graph, if I can find my mouse.
Is that where they meet like this? Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the top of the mountain or the valley of the mountain. And you guys see it'd be here, or there, or there. It's just wherever the top or bottom of the valley is. So to find the vertex, you're going to need to do, it's the opposite of b over 2a, and to find the y value, you just plug it in. You need me to zoom in?
Yeah.
Is that any better?
Is that 2A?
Yeah, that's a 2a on the bottom. So I'm going to do the opposite of b over 2a. Now we just need to be able to figure out what a, b, and c are. I'm gonna draw a box around my domain restriction because we're gonna need to be able to do that. But I'm gonna just write some scratch work out here. Remember, I've got ax squared plus bx plus c. A is whatever number is in front of your x squared. Our equation is -2x squared. What number is in front of my x squared? What's the number? What number is in front of my x squared? -2. That goes here. Now b is the number in front of my x. This might be a little tricky, but it's actually pretty easy. Are there any other terms that have just an x? So I don't have any terms, so it's a 0. What's 0 divided by a number? 0. So that's my x value. Okay, just remember this is your x value. Can I zoom out a little bit? I need you to be able to see the table at the same time. Okay, I'm going to put that in. See how I made a darker line? This is where I want you to put the vertex. So that's our x value. How do we find our y value? Plug it in. I'm going to take this x and plug it in here to figure out what y would be. So f of 0 is just -2 times 0 squared. Please make sure you put your x in parentheses. What's 0 squared? 0. What's -2 times 0? 0. I'm going to fill that in on the table. Now, tell me, I still see like 5 or 6 people writing, so I'll give you a minute, and then I'm going to scroll up to the table.
Is that 8?
Pardon?
Is that 8?
Where?
On the equal. In the middle.
There's no 8, there's a lot of zeros. Here? I'm not sure where you're seeing 8.
Oh, never mind.
Hey, can you take out your headphones? You're being real loud.
Mm.
Thank you. Okay, you guys, come up here. You get to choose, but I'm going to tell you what to choose because it's so much easier. Go up by 1. So 0 plus 1 is? What's 1 plus 1? What's 3? 2 plus 1 is 3. Follow me? Then go down by 1. This is going to be so much easier if you do this. You could pick any number in the world, but then your graph would be huge. So you want to pick the smallest numbers possible. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to do fractions. You ready? So these are the numbers we're going to pick. I'm going to start with 1, then I'm going to go to 2, then I'm going to go to 3. So we're going to do f of 1. So instead of x, I'm going to put a 1 in. What's 1 squared? What's 1 squared? What's 1 times 1? Right? Squared means I multiply it by itself twice. So 1 times 1. What's negative 2 times 1? So I'm going to put this negative 2 back up on the table by the 1. Okay, let's plug in 2. Negative 2 times 2 squared. What's 2 squared? What's negative 2 times 4? Let's plug that in to the table. So I'm putting it on the table. Michael, you okay? Okay, what's the next number we need to plug in? Good, we're going to do 3. What's 3 squared? Good. What's negative 2 times 9? Negative 18. Put it on the table. Okay, we still need to plug in these negatives. So let's knock those out real quick, and then I'm going to point out some key things. Okay, I'm going to plug in negative 1 first. What is negative 1 times negative 1? Positive 1. What's negative 2 times positive 1? I'm going to put that on the table. What's the next number we need to plug in? Negative 2 times negative 2 squared. What's negative 2 squared? Positive, because a negative times a negative is a, yep. What's negative 2? Sorry, the recording. Yeah, negative 8. I'm going to put that on the table. Okay. What I really am hoping you'll see is if I look, this is my center point, right? Your vertex is always your center point. What do you notice?
What's this one?
It mirror images. Does that make sense? So that's what I was hoping you would notice. Now, we're going to make a graph. We get to pick where the axes go. I'm going to make it so that it's about a little bit above halfway for my x-axis. And I don't know where I want to put my y-axis yet because it's going to depend on my inverse function. So this is going to be my x. Okay. We're going to plot our points in just a second. So right here, plot your points. Much brighter, much easier, huh? And when we find an inverse, what do we switch? Yeah, switch x and y. So to find our inverse table, we don't have to do any more math or any more arithmetic. We just switch x and y. So what am I going to use for x here? -8. What am I going to use for y? Is that easy cheese or what? Am I the only one writing in pen? All right, if I'm the only one writing in pen, can we move this line? Will you be mad if we move it? No, I'll leave it. I'll leave it. I'm being ridiculous. Okay, we're going to put a vertical axis here. The reason I'm putting it over a little bit is, can you see that all my x's are negatives? If all my x's are negative, I want a little bit more room on the negative side. Do I have room to count to 8, -8?
Yeah.
Not quite, right? So I'm going to count by 2s. Are you guys okay with that? So this is going to be -4. This is going to be -8. This is -4. This is going to be -8. I could do 2 and 6. It's just if I write that many things on there, it's going to be hard to read my graph. Now plotting the points. -2, -8. So I'm going to go over 2, down 8, and I'm going to put a dot. I'm going to go over 1, so that means it's halfway, and down 2. 0, 0 is easy. Over 1, that means I'm going to go half, down 2. Over 2, down 8. And there's not room for me to go to 3, -18, but it's good to know. The reason I have you do this is so that your graph, I need a pencil. When we draw the graph, I don't want to see this, because this looks like it's hitting 3 at 4, but it doesn't hit 3 for the x coordinate until all the way down at like -18, which would be way down here. Does that make sense? So I just want you to understand what the shape of the graph is going to look like. So now we're going to draw a nice curve. Should be rounded, not pointy. Rounded. Should have arrows. And then we want to label this one because this is our original graph. So we're going to label this one f of x. Okay? For number 5, step number 5, we're going to plot the points from our inverse. So I'm going to say plot inverse points. Is that okay? And number 6 is just label your graph. Label your graphs. So we've already labeled this one as our regular. We've already got 0, 0. Now remember, we're switching x and y. So this is going to be -8 down 2. -2 down 1. -2 up 1. -8 plus 2. And then I'm going to draw my curved graph again. And I'm just going to label this one. Sorry, it's hitting the camera when I try to write. The pen is literally hitting the camera. Inverse f of x. And we only have one thing to do. And it's actually the second easiest. The easiest is the inverse table where you just switch it x and y. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is to restrict the domain to keep the inverse as a function. Because right now, does this pass the vertical line test? No. Where would we need to cut it in half at? This way or this way? Horizontal or vertical? Horizontal, right? Can you see that if I cut it in half, I need a highlighter. If I cut it in half here, then we could use either the top or the bottom. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's like cutting this one in half here. Do you see what I'm saying? What's that special point called?
Vertex.
The vertex. Your restricted domain is always going to be two things. X is greater than or equal to whatever your vertex is, or x is smaller than whatever your vertex is. This is always the x coordinate of your vertex. It's always opposite of b over 2a. When you're ready, open it up. Oh, you still writing? Sorry.
Yeah, no, hold on.
Where do you need me to go to?
Under domain and restriction.
Your assignment only has 4 questions today because this is a lot of steps, right? This is putting a lot of pieces together. All right, can I zoom out? Okay, so I just want you to be able to, I'm going to zoom out macro so that you don't need to be able to read it. I just want you to see what I'm doing. I'm going to cut this in half. So I'm going to do a box for my domain restriction. And then on this half, I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just cutting this part in half, cutting that part in half. It'll help keep me organized. All right, I'm gonna get annoyed very quickly with this. I glued it in already, which was a mistake, because now I'm gonna be writing half on and half off. X squared minus 6x plus 6. All right. What is our first step, you guys? From the front, what do we need to find?
Find the vertex.
Uh-huh, so we've got the equation. What's the formula to find the vertex? Flip to the front. Guys, what's the formula to find the vertex? It's on the front. It's right here.
Negative B
Uh-huh.
over 2A.
I like to think of it as the opposite of B. What's the B in this equation? A, B, C. -6. What's my A in this equation? What's the number that's in front of this x squared?
1.
Thank you. So 1. What's a negative times a negative?
500.
So I've got 6 divided by 2. What's 6 divided by 2? 3. That's my x coordinate. You follow me? I'm going to put it up here in the shaded area. What else am I going to do with that same number? Hint, 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 hint.
So B.
Yeah. X is greater than or equal to 3, or x is less than or equal to 3. How do I find the y coordinate? How do I figure out what y is? Just plug this into this equation. That's it. Evaluate. So plug it in. All right. What's 3 squared?
9.
What's -6 times +3?
-18.
I don't care which ones we put together first. I usually put the positives together, so I would do the 9 and the 16 together. I would have 15 take away 18. What's 15 take away 18? -3. Put that as the y value in your table. I'll be looking for this step-by-step process in your assignment today. Okay, now that we have that, what numbers do we want to pick? What's 1 bigger than 3? And just cross this one out. I honestly don't want to make you do that many. What's 1 smaller than 3? Let's make it work. Okay, which number looks the easiest? 1 looks pretty easy, doesn't it? Let's do 1, then do 2. Okay, let's take it from there. F of 1 is equal to 1 squared minus 6 times 1 plus 6. Do you guys know what I'm doing here? Do you know how I'm getting this? I'm just taking this equation, and instead of x, I'm changing all the x's to whatever number we need to check. What's 1 squared? What's -6 times 1? What's -6 plus 6? What's left? Put it on your table. What's the next number we need to evaluate? Tell me what to write down. Help me set up the equation.
2 squared minus 6 times 2 plus 8.
Good job. what's 2 squared? What's negative 6 times 2? I would put the positives together, but it doesn't actually matter. You could do 4, take away 12. You could do negative 12 and 6. It's all going to come out to the same number. So let's do this. Let's do negative 12 and 6. What does that make? What's 4 take away 6? What kind of 2? Put it in the table. Okay, so your table should look like this. Now remember, it should mirror image. I'm expecting that we get negative 2 and that we get 1, but I want to see the work. I want to get you guys very well versed in evaluating and working with negative numbers. So let's do at 4. Diego, can you help me set it up? Good. Good. Good job. Oscar, can you help me simplify? What's 4 squared?
4 squared is 8.
4 times 4?
I mean, then I put those 16, right?
Yeah. Jacob, I think it's with a V, right? Jacob V and Jacob Z. Jacob V, negative 6 times 4? Yes, Bryson. Don't forget the negative. Angel, which 2 things do you want to put together, and then give me the answer for those 2 things together?
Put 16 and 6 together.
What does that make?
22
Yup.
minus 24
Yup.
equals negative 2.
Yeah, you got it. And that's what we expected, right? We expected it to come out so that it reflects. If these don't match, what does that mean? Something, it either means your vertex, you got the wrong vertex, or you messed up on one of these 2. Does that make sense? Okay. We still need to plug in 5. Let's rock and roll. Lissandro, help me set it up.
5 squared minus 6 times 5 plus 3.
Jacob, help me out.
25. 30. Negative 30. And 6.
Good. Is it Jared Ramirez?
Yeah.
Which 2 things do you want to put together?
Oh, no.
Well, what's 25 take away 30? Negative 5. Then what's negative 5 plus 6? 5 steps backwards, 6 steps forward. Where are you at? So you went backwards 5? And then you went forward 6? No, because you went back and then forward. Do you have more? Did you take more steps forward or back? Yeah, you can think of it like that. 6 take away 5. Just positive 1. Because we went forward more than we went back. Jose, did it come out how we expected?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, on this one, it's probably just easiest. 3, negative 3. I'm just going to do, none of these numbers are really that big, so I'm just going to put the axes right in the middle. All right. Laura, can you help me? Where am I going to put my vertex at? Tell me where to go.
Go
Then,
Down 3.
good. Put your vertex. Okay. Then I'm going to go to the right 4, down 2, down 2, 5, 1, 1, 6. If I do 6, that's 36. Take away 36, I'm at 6, so there's not enough room, but yeah. And then I'm just going to draw my graph. Make sure it's not touching the y-axis, because your y-intercept would be at positive 6, and we don't have room for that. Okay, and we're going to label this one our f of x. All right, this is my f of x. Pedro, can you help us set up this table, please? What's going to go here?
1,
Yep, and?
2.
No, right,
Oh, right next to it?
yeah.
Oh, 1,
Okay, and then what goes here?
2.
Wait, switch them.
Oh, negative 2 on me.
-2 and then?
2. And then negative 3 and 3.
Good.
And then negative 2 and 4.
Good.
And then 1 and 5.
Perfect. Michael, can you help us graph the inverse? Where am I going to put the, help me get the vertex in the right place. Where do I go? Left, right, up, or down? How many? Left how many?
Oh,
And then where do I go? Yep. And then we're just going to do our best. Left 2 up 4. Left over 1 up 5. Left 2 up 2. It's not going to be perfect. My drawing's never perfect, but it's close enough that we can actually tell what's going on. And then label by the vertex that this is our inverse function. Make sure you have that -1 going on up there. -1 in the power. Is that making sense, y'all? Can you see how it is? I'm looking for a highlighter. There's a highlighter. Can you see how if we did the line y equals x, it reflects across it? Okay, last example. This one's different for 2 reasons. Well, I want to point something out. When there's a negative in front of the x squared, it points down. When there's a positive or an implied positive, it points up. So which way is this going to face?
Down.
Down. So I already know this is going to be a frowny face. What's going to be our first step, Holloway?
Oh, what's the equation?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Pardon? What are we always trying to find first? Which is called the, starts with a V. I heard it, vertex is right. And the formula perfect. Opposite of B over 2A. I just wrote all of that wrong. Opposite of B over 2A. Diego, help me set up the vertex. Opposite of, what's my B? What number is B? Do you know how to tell? Ax squared plus bx plus c. So b is the number that is with the x. Yup. Jacob, what's my A?
I'm not sure how to
One, negative one.
Yep. Oscar, help me simplify. What's a negative times a negative?
Positive?
Uh-huh. Angel, what's 2 times negative 1? Lysandro, what's 4 divided by negative 2?
Negative two.
Where does this go?
On A.
Goes in the X.
So,
Where else does it go? In the domain restriction. X has to be bigger than it, or it has to be smaller than it. Help me pick what X values we want to pick. Jacob, help me pick the X values.
3, 4, and 5.
Negative 3, negative 4, okay. And I'm not going to do this bottom one. There's just not enough room for us to do all of that. You don't have to do the bottom one. I want to see 2 on each side, but the third one's not. I'm not going to make that happen. Give me a number that's just 1 bigger than negative 2.
-1 and 0.
Perfect. These are the numbers we're going to pick. Let's start with negative 2. So we're going to do f of negative 2. Negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 2 minus 5. F of negative 2. What's negative 2 squared? Positive 4. A negative times a negative is a positive. What's a negative times a negative? What's 4 times 2? I do not care which ones go together first. Pedro, which ones do you want to put together first? Negative 4, negative 5, or 8?
5 and 8.
5 and 8, what does that make?
3.
What's negative 4 plus 3?
1.
What kind of 1?
Negative.
Thank you. All right. Oh. What number is going to be the easiest to plug in? Of the choices we have, which one's the easiest?
0.
0. F of 0. Michael, can you help me set up the equation? Trying to, I wish I could make that like recording thing go away.
0. Square.
What's anything times 0?
0.
Goodbye, goodbye. What's the only thing left? Put it up. Okay. What's the next easiest number you guys want to plug in? I think negative 1's your next easiest. I'm gonna come down a little bit. Give me a second. All right. What's negative 1 squared? Negative 1 is negative 1 times negative 1. Positive 1. What's negative 4 times negative 1?
Positive 1.
And then this is going to be
Minus 2.
minus 5, okay? Which two things do you guys want to put together? Don't care what it is, just make your choice.
Or 1.
What's that make?
Negative 1.
What's negative 1 take away 1? It is not 0.
Oh.
It is negative 2. Put it on your table. Okay, what two numbers do we still need to plug in?
Negative 3 and 4.
Let's do it. F of negative 3. Negative 3 squared minus 4 times negative 3 minus 5. What is negative 3 squared? Negative 3 times negative 3. Positive 9. What is negative 4 times negative 3? Which ones do you want to put together? Negative 9, 12, negative 5. Which two do you want to do? 12 and the 5, what's that make? Positive 7. What's negative 9 and positive 7 make?
Negative 3.
Negative 2. Last one. Okay. Negative 4 squared minus 4 times negative 4 minus 5. Now just to be really clear, a squared means write it twice. You got to think of it as multiplying by itself. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing, sorry. What is negative 4 squared? What does that make? 16 or 8? 16. Don't forget to bring the negative on the outside. Negative times a negative is a, what's 4 times 4? Minus 5. Now this one, I'm going to think you're kind of silly if you don't just cross those two out. Negative 16 plus 16, what does that make? You could do the 16 and the 5 first and get 21, take away 16 and get back to your 5, but let's do this easy, right? So we've got negative 5. Who wants to help me fill out this table? Jared, can you help me? Can you help me fill out this table? What goes here? Do you know? You just switch these. So what's going to go here? What's going to go here? Jared, can you hear me? You're just going to switch those two. So what's the x? Pardon? Come closer then. Get to where you need to get so you can see. So just switch them. What's going to go here? Yep. What's going to go here? Good. What goes here? Good. Yep. Good. Good. Can you guys see that I have all negatives for my x's and mostly negatives for my y's? Almost everything's negatives. So I'm going to do this. Since basically everything's negative, now I want to point something out. On the front, we put in a scale because we weren't counting by ones. On this one, we were counting by ones, so we didn't put in a scale. I'm going to count by ones, but it's still helpful to at least have some kind of scale, so I know what you're counting by. On your assignment, I'm going to be looking at your work, not at your score on CUDA. I'm going to be looking at this. So let's break this down. Over 4, down 5. Over 3, down 2. Over 2, down 1. Over 1, down 2. Yep. Over 0, down 5. You guys seeing it? If I plugged in 1 minus negative 5, I get negative 10. Doesn't quite fit. So I'm just going to draw my little graph. This one was my original one. Gonna graph this guy. Left 5, down 4. Left 2, down 3. Left 1, down 2. Okay. Left 2, down 1. Left 5, 0. So that's kind of a tricky draw, isn't it? Kind of tricky to draw those where they're crossing on top of each other. Label this one as your inverse function, and label this one as your regular. That is it, you guys. So you should have the assignment template. Looks like this. If you're an online student, I will upload it for you so that you can print it if you'd like. If you don't have a printer, in your journal, you can do it like this. X, Y. Just make sure I know which one your vertex is. And then do your best to draw a graph. I know it's not going to be perfect. Just do your best. So don't stress about not having the template if you're a virtual. That's it, guys. Good luck. Let me yeah, I got like 3 things I got to do. Hold on.